and the abuse continued.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said there will be no wokeness here.
I mean, that's just a little weird. Joining us now with more, incoming White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Karoline, I'm so thrilled to have you with me. And you would think, ABC having just paid $15 million for a defamation lawsuit, which
skewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
The host's disputes, interruptions, and confetti-like hurling of strong opinions on The View escalated into a full-scale media frenzy rather than a little disturbance. Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg made the decision to assault Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, in the most horrible manner imaginable. They went right for the low blow rather than challenging her background or her beliefs.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing.
As if Leavitt had just walked into the White House and flicked her hair at the proper time to be appointed, Behar disparaged years of political acumen and hard work. What she stated about Leavitt is possibly the worst example of media sadism you will ever see.
Those have got themselves into hot water again after they did the very thing they purport to be against, undermining women's success. Joy Behar stunned viewers when she said Donald Trump's press secretary, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, only secured her position because of her good looks.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first
media seat. My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
All right. What'd she say?
She basically said that they were going to give
God, how boring.
unqualified people
Not so
Behind the
tedious.
Table podcast needs to apply for White House credentials.
They'd love having Joy in that room.
I
got a question.
So wait a second. So in other words, instead of Bob Woodward, they want Kim Kardashian? What? I don't get it.
Never one to stay out of a dispute, Whoopi Goldberg added her own wisdom and told Elle that if she wasn't woke, she wouldn't even have the job. The message was clear. She wasn't there because of her credentials, knowledge, or talent, but rather because of the diversity checklist. The same women who constantly advocate for female empowerment had just degraded a young, successful lady to her appearance and a political quota. The irony was almost unbearable. At this moment, a trophy for hypocrisy would be placed on the coffee table at The View.
She's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing.
Viewers from both political parties were pointing out the double standard on social media. The consequences were severe and swift. Since the lady in question didn't fit their political model, those who favored women in leadership positions appeared a little uneasy. Responses poured in on Twitter. Some just remarked they couldn't believe a show that was supposed to be about encouraging women had become a forum for demeaning them, while others pointed out that if a Republican had said something like that about a liberal lady, their career would have gone before lunch.
Unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
Yeah. I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was...
The real shock, though, was Leavitt's resolve to not let them get away with it. Leavitt went to the extreme and sued Bear and Goldberg for defamation, seeking millions of dollars in damages, rather than simply venting his anger on social media, as most people do these days. Behind the scenes, ABC management were in full-blown panic mode as the chat show suddenly turned into a legal disaster. Lawsuits are costly, and advertisers would rather not spend money on controversy unless it benefits them. While the legal team was anxiously attempting to determine their alternatives, producers were huddled in meetings, perhaps wondering how much longer they could keep patching up the View's mounting litany of controversies. The network was aware that they needed to act fast before the entire program fell apart due to its own chaos.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
I'm saying this is the first time
I think
that
it's an
she's been she may be, but my point is that job would not maybe have been open to her.
No, I understand. I just wanted to clarify that.
Goldberg and Damage Control Bear would have to provide an apology. Not just any apology, but a genuine, sincere one that said, "We regret what we said." It is likely that they detested this. It wasn't a suggestion, it was an order.
Attacking a woman for her looks or age isn't very progressive. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Kosha, particularly that last clip that we played, it was so condescending. The way that she was scolding her as if she was a schoolgirl, suggesting she needed to do her homework. I find it so hypocritical when these so-called, caring, progressive voices just turn so nasty like that.
Yes, and as you mentioned, with conservative women, there's a long list of that, both of Trump's previous press secretaries, females, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Consequently, Goldberg and Haar sat before the cameras and made their carefully thought-out justifications with the same fervor as if they were being made to eat their veggies. Bear's voice faltered somewhat as she whispered that they truly regret their comments and whatever sorrow they may have caused. It was quite moving, but none of it was taken seriously. Although it sounded like she would want to be somewhere else, Goldberg concurred and stated that they respected Leavitt and all women in politics.
Figures like his campaign manager the first time, Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Palin very famously had to bear the brunt of a lot of this. So people are used to that. I think in their bubble of the audience that the View speaks to, that's probably kind of what the groupthink is. So one defense, I guess, is that she was speaking to her audience. When you take it outside of that bubble the way you are right now, and we all can see what it is. It was also interesting, too, because she was conflating two ideas. This word wokeness didn't look like she really understood what it meant, or certainly the way Karoline Leavitt meant it when she made that statement, and she was conflating it with civil rights and how women didn't have the right to vote or own property and all of that. That has nothing to do with wokeness, which is, of course, about putting people in there because of their immutable characteristics rather than the merit that they bring to them.
Through the TV screens, you could hear the audience rolling their eyes in disbelief. On social media, several people once again blasted the lack of sincerity. Comments were flooding in, with some saying the apology was really a legal ruse to avoid paying out a lot of money. Others compared it to a child apologizing for breaking something just to retain dessert, saying they were more concerned about being caught than they were sorry for what they had said.
While I vow to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there's misinformation about this White House.
Boom. She's got more.
I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country.
Bam! It's on in the middle of the night.
The apology didn't make things better the night at Perform. On the contrary, it exacerbated the situation and validated what many people had long thought. You were subjected to mockery if you didn't share the viewpoint. It wasn't really about promoting a particular narrative, encouraging open dialogue, or encouraging female empowerment. The show is now fighting for its life due to a public relations problem and a lawsuit.
Hitler, they have mocked him, they have shamed him, they have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
It is. You know, I wanted to start with that crazy absurdity because during my tenure as White House press secretary, there was a lot of absurdities coming from the press. I remember one briefing where Ryan...
In the background, host tensions were at an all-time high, and one of the panel's more moderate voices, Elisa Farah-Griffin, reportedly became angry with the way the situation had been handled. Insiders claim that she refused to accept the prepared, robotic apologies they had already given and demanded a genuine, heartfelt one. She felt unfairly singled out, blamed everyone but herself, and refused to take responsibility for her own acts, because of course nothing is ever Joy Behar made a mistake that.
Bizarrely asked me if Trump was happy that the South lost the Civil War, to which, like, you could see me, I stopped, I looked at him and said, that is absurd. I mean, you'll deal with these kind of crazy questions from the White House podium. How do you plan to deal with it?
Yes, I absolutely will. I feel prepared to do that. I've been facing the media now, speaking on behalf of President Trump on the campaign trail for the past couple of years, and we are expecting the media to be hostile. However, Kaylee, if you do talk to a lot of these reporters off the record, they will tell you they look forward to more press transparency and access. And while we will expose the fake news when they are fake, we will hold them accountable for their lies and smears of President Trump. I can also assure the American people that they are going to be hearing directly from the leader of the free world. And the press likes to hear that too. That's something that has not happened over the past 4 years. We've had an incompetent...
There were rumors that the network could have to make a difficult decision, that ABC was considering harsh measures, and that the show's ratings were declining. It was suggested that either the show's views needed to change or some of its hosts needed to go, with Behar being named as the most likely victim. However, Karoline Leavitt was not renouncing her position. On the contrary, the critique of the position helped to make her more well-known. She became a powerful, independent political voice by refusing to let the debate define.
As proven by that scathing Wall Street Journal report that came out today and you discussed on the show earlier, you have a press secretary who hardly knows what's going on in the building and never gives honest and truthful answers. All of that is going to change on January 20th, as evidenced by President Trump's press conference at Mar-a-Lago this week, where he took nearly 90 minutes.
What follows? Is this the end for The View, or will it survive? Will ABC finally clean the house, or will they carry on with business as usual? Will Behar and Goldberg ever learn to consider before they speak, above all else? Please don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments section. The whole catastrophe had once again turned what ought to have been a normal political discussion into a full-fledged scandal. Additionally, they were learning the hard way that irresponsible comments can have consequences. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more.